Hey folks, high and low here. I'm going to try and do a quick tutorial on making the snake knot paracord lanyard for your knife. And we'll see how it goes here. It's a little bit hard to do it on video and not looking directly at it. But anyway, you take your sharp scissors. Be careful with scissors. Don't run with them. You take any kind of lighter or a match or whatever you want. Have your knife, have your pieces of paracord. And again, this isn't the color scheme I would usually use, but it's good for demonstrating everything. So you cut your paracord, and it'll be a little frayed, but that's okay. So what you want to do is put some flame to it, melt the ends, because it's just nylon. And once it's sort of bubbly, you can sort of smash it together, and it'll glue together. But what I was told, why I learned it, was that if you use the blue part of the flame, it won't singe your paracord. It'll give you a little bit better burn, if you can see that, without singeing it, and you won't get that black nasty stuff on your nice paracord. So get your fingers wet a little bit, stick that together. Mash it nice and tight. Squeeze it a little bit so that it's not a big bulky piece, so that you can actually get it through your knife. And it's pretty tight. I mean, you're not gonna be hanging from this stuff, but it's a pretty good bond. And then you can just thread it through your lanyard hole of your knife here. And that's why you want to squeeze it pretty well so that it fits through there. You can also pull it out the other end and tie over it if you want, but if you don't do it correctly, if you don't burn it correctly, the paracord will be a little stiff and it won't work real well. So I will put the rest of the knife sort of up here so you can see. Anyway, what you want to do is go up and over and then back down again, like so. And then this one goes underneath, and then through your hole, so you have something like this. And that's why I'm using the different colors, because it's a lot easier to see. And then you cinch that up to where you want it, right about there. And then tie it in, and you have your first knot. So your first knot should look like that. And then you just repeat the process. You go over the top and then back down. It's a little bit harder when you actually have a knife on the end of this thing. And this one goes underneath, and then through that hole. So again, you have the exact same looking twist, and then you can just tighten that up. And you know, sometimes you have to play with the knots a little bit here to make sure that they're nice and tight. Sometimes I have trouble doing that, but make sure it's nice and tight. So you can see we're already starting to form our pattern there. And then again, same thing, over the top on the left, and then underneath and curve down so that you're back in line. This one goes underneath and over the top and through that hole. And again, you have should have the same pattern, and you cinch that up, make it nice and tight with the rest. And sometimes it gets a little squirrely, so you have to kind of massage it, especially if you're doing a demonstration. But you get that in there. And sometimes the paracord will wrap a little bit on you, so you have to kind of massage it in there. But you can see we're starting to develop our pattern really nice. So I'll go ahead and pause until I get a little bit farther down the way on this, and well, I'll do one more. I'll do one more just so that you can see it. So over the top, and then underneath the back, and then down parallel with this other line. And then this comes around and then down through here. So again, you have your same pattern again, looks like a little pretzel. And then you want to cinch it on up here. And continue with your pattern. There you go. So I'm going to pause it real quick, finish this up, and then show you how I usually stop it. Okay, fast forward a little bit. I did a few more knots on there, and one of the things you got to try and be consistent when you're tying them, because you can see as I was rushing through here, some of these aren't, they're a little off, right? You can kind of play with them a little bit, but try and use consistent pressure when you're tying these knots, because if you do it nice and consistently, then your knots will end up looking a lot nicer than they do if you're kind of rushing it like I was. You can kind of see the knots are, I started to use a little bit more pressure down here, and the knots get skinnier than they are up there. So that's one thing to think about when you're doing this stuff, is try and be consistent with your knots, because otherwise they'll turn out a little weird if you look at it too closely. But again, I was demoing it and running faster than I should. So when you end up, and again, the color scheme's a little weird, but that's okay. So when you're finished and you're done, if you want to leave a little bit of end on there, you can. A lot of guys will singe it right up to the top there. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want to just clip it, you can just sort of clip it here and have these two little tassels hanging out. But I'm going to kind of show you how to tuck it in and make it look a little bit nice. So get your scissors and leave a little bit extra, because it's gonna singe and melt. So you want a little bit extra. You don't want to cut it right at the knot. You want to leave a little bit extra, maybe a couple millimeters or 1/8 of an inch, whatever you're comfortable with. So make your cuts, okay, and then go ahead and melt. Go ahead and melt your paracord. Get it nice and melty, and then just kind of squish it on in there. I think I might even have left a little bit too much. If you do it, this one's probably correct. If you do it right, you can really get it kind of tucked in there, and you won't even see the ends. I think my lighter is actually giving out, but go ahead and get it bubbly, and then just kind of tap it on in there, and you can tuck it in real nice usually, and it'll melted it to my lighter, of course, but that's all right. So you can snip off these little ends if you want. There. And then you can play with it for a little bit and melt everything down so it's nice and it's not going to burr up on anything. And you can play with this stuff as much as you want, make it look however you want to, but that's it in a nutshell. Later on I'll probably clean up this a little bit and put it flush. You can see how the red one's a little bit more flush and doesn't stick out as much, but that's the basic principle. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and have fun. Have a good time.